Welcome to the Barrels and Banter podcast with Sarah Miles from Sarah Miles Shooting and me, Celine from Wintercombe. We are back for episode 3 and exciting news, which we did say to you in episode 2. Do not forget, we now have our own social media, plus we've got our own email, barrelsandbanter@gmail.com, and you can send us your funny stories, your confessions and your questions. So Sarah, this week, strap in. We have got banging tales. I have a good one for you. It's about our time in France. We're in the firing line debate where we will be talking about pickers up and whether they think they are superior to beaters. On our field notes and anecdotes, both of us will be talking, I think, about our charity time. And we will be shooting it straight and myth busting. Are birds in the UK released from cages? We will then have confessions and questions. So many things, another podcast, and we're here.
Let's go.
I can't believe it.
I can't believe we're here. I can't believe people have listened to it. Remember when we said, 2 people have requested our podcast?
Yeah.
It's actually gone really well. We looked at the views the other day, didn't we, with how many people have listened?
Yes.
We were really surprised.
I find it mad, to be fair, that they watch us dancing too. So
Yeah,
the fact that people are all in, I'm all for it.
And this is just a good reason for us to catch up and have a laugh, to be honest.
To be fair, share some of our really dodgy stories with each other.
Just
that
join us.
Haven't yet told. So going on to that, banging tales. Wow.
Strap in.
Okay.
You got a good one.
As you know, I used to live in France and we didn't do any shooting out there. It was a different type of shooting. It just wasn't really something that we got involved with. But one day we hadn't been there for very long, maybe 4 months. And there was quite a commotion in the woods opposite our house. And there was lots of baying of hounds. And I was thinking, what on earth are they doing? But they were actually out shooting roe deer and wild boar, but they bring hounds through and they drive them out of the woods. Absolutely amazing. And being curious, I just sort of went for a wander and started chatting to somebody in my terrible French. And he was really taken by the fact that somebody that was female, because it's quite male dominated out there.
Yeah.
By quite take that as completely. Would be expressing an interest.
He's just trying to suss you out to see if you're an auntie or something.
I think he was, because
Yeah.
he was asking loads of questions. I was like, wow, what are you doing with it? Because they have to do loads of things that I hadn't appreciated here, tagging and all sorts. And if you are seen to have an untagged or not registered animal in your vehicle, they can seize your vehicle.
Yeah.
And your gun licenses and everything. So the guy was then really enthusiastic that I was enthusiastic. And my husband came along and the chap said, oh, we're having a shoot dinner. Do you want to come to our end of year shoot dinner? And we were like, yeah, we'd be well up for that. And in the post comes an invite to the shoot dinner.
Oh, wow.
We're thinking, oh my God, we are actually invited in the village hall. Well, you do not have to ask me twice to get dressed up. I was so excited because I had not worn any clothes, fancy clothes for ages. I'm there. I'm full on frock. Right. I've got the heels. I've got the fur coat. Okay.
Oh, you went all out.
I went all out, and off we go. We're on our way. We've got a babysitter and we've gone.
I'm feeling nervous.
And then we pulled up to the village hall, and as we pulled around, I go home. Abort mission. We have to go home because everyone is in camo. They're in overalls. They're in work gear. They're in wellies, and I am in the car dressed up.
Dressed for a ball.
Literally, I'm dressed up for a proper hunt type ball, not a shoot dinner, as they would see it. So
was Simon in a suit as well?
Oh yeah, he's in full black tie, come up under the lot, okay?
Oh my God.
So we disappear, we go home, and we reappear. We are the best dressed there. I'm wearing a polo shirt and a pair of jeans. I'm literally the best dressed. We walk in and everyone's like, oh my gosh, it's the English people. Come over, let us show you where you can sit. And then they looked at us and went, your bag? And I went, my bag? They said, yes, your bag with your things? I was like, my bag with my things. My bag with my things. What have I not appreciated? And as I look around this village hall that's got 4 massive tables, each that seat about 50 people, I realise none of the cutlery and crockery are the same. None of the glasses are the same. Because on the invite, and we didn't read it because we couldn't read French, You have to take your own cutlery, crockery and cups and everything. So we've turned up and we've now turned up for the second time, but we haven't got anything. So don't worry. So now Simon and I are sat at a table with people with cut glass china, and we have got a children's knife and fork each in a plastic beaker, a plastic beaker and a plastic plate. Wow. You'd think that was like the low of the low. It gets worse.
Oh, surely not. It can't get
into a 12-course meal.
Oh, wow.
Like, I was not expecting it at all. Only they cannot get their head around gluten-free. So then they start panicking that they're giving me the wrong thing. So the next thing I know, out comes blue is what we would describe this. I think blue
like
would be
meat.
kind beef.
Oh.
I'm going to be honest. I don't think it was blue. I think they literally just went outside with a crossbow, killed something and dragged it in. Because what ended up on that plate had not seen
Just
any
raw.
form of heat. It was just basically beef sushi.
Oh.
Only
bet that
now,
made your stomach
I've
turn.
got the entire table all looking at me going, is the English girl going to eat the meat? Simon's just sat there going, eat the bloody meat.
Oh, no.
And I've got quite a lot of it. So I'm trying to sort of work my way through it slowly. And then the palate cleanser comes out. Well, you know me and spirits. I don't drink.
You don't do spirits?
Yeah. Well, turned out that was a spirit. That was Poir William sorbet. Only I've now had 2.
Oh, so you're away with the fairies at
Oh,
this
I'm
point.
well gone. And now I'm trying to discuss in a foreign language with a bunch of people I've never met before, what is a squirrel? Only I don't know the word for squirrel, so now I'm basically miming.
Like a game of charades.
Charades with these random people. Needless to say, we did leave the area before they had another one, and I'm not sure they would have invited us back. We also didn't even make it to the end of the dinner. We left at 11:30 because I was like, no, I really need to go to bed. They were like, we've got 4 courses left. I was like, what time does it finish?
They just eat
2
all
o'clock in the
night.
morning.
They just eat all night.
Kids all out there playing.
In their
They were
wellies.
like, you didn't bring your child. I'm thinking,
No, because I thought I was
No,
going to a
'cause-
posh ball.
oh, how they do it differently on the continent. But oh my gosh, just when I turned up, I honestly thought, oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm going to get to wear a lovely dress.
Oh, see, I'm the opposite. I would have been thrilled at the thought of having to go home and actually just put my comfy clothes on. I would have been absolutely buzzing for
Oh, I
that.
was really looking forward to
No,
it.
I would have been so happy.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it was a cracking night and they were really nice people, but I do think that there was some thought that went through their mind that went, what's with
Did you
these
finish all the
people?
beef though?
I ate 2/3 of it, but to be fair, there was like 8 great big slices. I mean, it was a lot of it.
I probably would have just pushed it around the plate for a bit.
I couldn't push it around the plate. They brought it on a platter and put it next to me, and everyone was staring. So it was one of those where it was like, oh, this is going to have to go down. It's like a bush tucker trial all in itself.
Thank God we now have ChatGPT, and you could have took a picture of the invite and said, translate it all for me. And you would have been more in the know.
Who would have thought that they would have said that on it? But there was just Simon and me with this little like kiddie's knife and fork and a plastic plate. And there's other people cut glass china and all sorts.
Good job you were able to get changed though, because imagine if you weren't, like home was really far away and you had to sit there in your ball gown with your kids' cutlery and your blue meat. That would have just been even worse.
So if you ever get invited shooting in France, I would highly
Just
recommend
swerve it.
that you read the information.
Okay. Or just don't go.
turning
I'm busy. Up next is our fire and line debate, where we're going to talk about, do pickers up think they're more superior than beaters? What do you think?
I think this is such an interesting conversation because
Yes.
I think it's one of those, it can be quite divisive, but I know a lot of shoots that very much wouldn't even entertain that. I mean, on our shoot, everyone is just...
It really depends where you go. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I think it does happen.
Oh, I've seen
A lot.
it. Yeah.
But it does just depend where you go. I've been on shoots where...
Sorry, that was my stomach gurgling. If that comes through to the podcast, I've been shooting, I'm really hungry. Carry on.
Ignore the gurgles. Yeah, I've been on shoots where I've been a beater and it's like you don't talk to the pickers up. You don't eat near them. You don't sit with them. You don't go near the guns. You don't speak to a gun unless the gun speaks to you.
I've
like
been
royalty,
to
isn't
one
it?
that's really similar where the pickers would go off and have drinks with the guns and go and have the slow gin and things. But
Yeah.
the beaters were very much to be not heard or seen.
Sit there with your apple juice and be quiet.
Literally, they went to the beaters shed while everybody else was outside mingling, and I just find that quite awkward.
It does infuriate me, and I'm a picker up. And it infuriates me because I think, look at a shoot day. A shoot day could still run with no pickers up. It could. because the beaters could come through and pick up at the end. The guns could handpick, the guns could take their dogs. It wouldn't be brilliant and you'd probably lose birds. It could still be done, but the day could not run without beaters.
I do think, though, when I see those, when people post online, the most important person on the shoot is the beater. And I do, though, I get that, but I do feel like
you're all
everybody
important.
is equally as important.
Oh, yeah.
Because actually, the guns are important, because if they weren't paying, we wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
The beaters are important to get the birds there. The pickers up are important from a welfare point of view. The host is important from a safety point of view.
Yeah.
And to be honest, the cook is important, because without them,
everyone's
everyone
gonna
would
get
be
fed.
starving. So it is, I think everybody has equal value, but it's one of those where I do think sometimes, and I do see this as well, beaters will come down and start telling the pickers up what to do, like they kind of almost want to elevate themselves into the picker, or they'll let their dog have a quick pick and be like, oh, I found one that you didn't find. And that in itself also creates a divide, because it should be teamwork. So great, if you find birds, fantastic, obviously go and show the pickers, but sometimes those pickers are then looking for birds the beaters have found, and can be a bit of a one-upmanship there, but it should feel more like a
You've just
team.
got to work as a team. And like you say, on your shoot, there is literally none of that. Everyone is equal. We stand with the guns and chat. The guns invite us over to eat food with them. We'll have a drink. The beaters will mingle.
Yeah.
Granted, we don't eat lunch with the beaters, but that's not because we don't want to or they don't want to. It's because they always get ahead and go to the next drive, because they want to be ready to beat that through, because they'll start normally beating through as we're finishing our lunch.
Yeah, or sometimes we're eating on the fly, aren't we? Because the guns will have stopped. We'll still be picking up that drive. We're
it's just timing wise.
That is a timing.
But it's nothing to do with, but I think it's fantastic. And do you think as time goes on, back in the day it was more like that, but I think as time goes on, it is becoming more equal and people are sort of banishing that divide between, and it is becoming more inclusive?
Yeah, and I do think also the eating with the guns, that a lot of shoots do have that common ground where they eat together.
Yeah.
On our shoot, granted, we don't have the ability to do that purely because we don't have anywhere that can cater and facilitate that many people. However, on our previous shoot that we had, everyone ate together just because we did have the facilities.
Yeah.
And if in an ideal world, if we could allow it, everyone would sit together.
100%.
But there's no divide on ours. Beaters and pickers all meet at the same place. They all finish at the same place. The only thing I would say sometimes that I do think one has to be careful is when the beaters do come through and start picking. It's a communication issue with the pickers.
Yeah.
Sometimes those pickers are then looking for birds that the beaters have picked. I totally appreciate that the thought is there to help, but equally sometimes it can then hinder the next process, because I don't necessarily think that they appreciate how much we're marking whilst we're trying to do what we're doing.
Yeah.
But to the point that also I wouldn't be there saying to a beater, oh, you needed to flag a bit more there.
Yeah.
Whilst, yes, you are a team, and I don't want to use the term stay in your lane because that's really harsh, I do think one has to also remember that each team in themselves, the pickers and the beaters, have their own way of working. And
100%.
That can then also muddy the water, which I think can then feel like a divide, but it's not true because you're trying to make people feel divided. It's more just that you're trying to create the smoothest experience possible.
We've almost got a routine, haven't we, for each drive now? We all know where everybody's got to go, and you sort of got a routine of you work it from that way to that way at the end.
And you're radioing, and you'll be radioing someone, and they're like, okay, I know that I've got to go from here across that field, round to that hedge, back on myself to here.
You've just got your own little routine of how you work it for each drive, and it works, doesn't it? So, like you say, when you're then looking for a bird, and you're like, you get frustrated for yourself because you're like, why can't I find it?
I worry that can make it look like the pickers feel superior to the beaters because they're sort of saying, oh, please don't pick that, please don't pick, just leave it. It's not because they're not wanting to be team members and wanting the help, but it's more because they know that will have been radioed to somebody else who is probably doing this special circuit that's going to come back and pick that. But then if they can't find it, more people will be helping. It then holds up the process. Each team has got their own way of working. But when I have gone to those places that has a true divide, beaters meet here and pickers meet there, and beaters get this food and pickers sometimes get different food. I went to one once where the pickers went into the house of the host, but the beaters went outside.
No, that's so wrong.
And I just thought...
I'd be mortified.
But how... Yeah, well, I couldn't do it. I went outside with the beaters.
Yeah, I couldn't sit in there and do that. That just feels wrong.
No, it wasn't for me. I feel like everybody is valued, and it wouldn't work without having every single person playing their part.
You've all got a part. You've all just got to stick together.
Yeah, exactly. Now up, field notes and anecdotes. What have we been up to? Well, we were discussing this just before we sat down to do the pod, and we were like, what on earth have we been doing? Because we've done so much picking up. I feel like just telling everyone about the picking up we've been doing is probably not massively
You don't want to hear that every week.
No. However, we have done something slightly different recently, and we did a charity onesie day where we went picking up in our onesies, both of us together, to raise money for our shoot charity this year, which is the British Heart Foundation. So all our sweepstakes are going into that. And Sarah and I just thought last year we raised money for the Country Food Trust.
Yes, we did, yeah.
And then this year we thought, let's give it a punt. Let's do it again. Different onesies.
This actually all started because somebody on Instagram... we posted something and he said, I'll donate some money to charity if you go out picking up dressed like that. That's literally how it started.
Oh, I know what it was. We were dancing upstairs in the hallway
in our
dressed
onesies.
in Christmas lights and the onesies, much to my teenager's absolute distress. He had a friend over, but we just locked his bedroom door and basically did it in the hallway outside it and then said, we're finished.
I mean, we don't need a lot of persuading to get dressed up and do something funny.
No.
So.
Guns actually find it quite amusing. We did get a picture with them.
Yeah, to be fair, you've got all really nice guns. They're all very on board with our crazy antics.
I feel like most shoots could do this though.
Yeah, it's
most
something
shoots
really
have a Christmas
simple.
jumper day.
Yeah.
So even if you just had a Christmas jumper and hats day and said,
everyone chucking a couple of quid, it raises money. So we went out dressed up as reindeer.
Yeah, no ground game.
No ground game. Yeah, we did reiterate that. Please, no ground game.
No ground game, no ground game. Oh my gosh, was it hot though?
Yes.
And then it rained.
And then we had two ends of the spectrum. It went from boiling hot to chucking it down with rain.
Yeah. And we'd worn under layers just in case. And then it was halfway through the day, right, that's going to have to start coming off. Yeah. And then it started raining. It was like, okay, now we're going to have to start putting things on.
Things back on again. But yeah, it was really good. Celine took it a little bit far. She thought, I'm really going to get into this deer mentality and decided to get herself hung up in a fence. And had to radio me to go and rescue her and pull her out of the fence.
I was actually really quite stuck.
You were really stuck.
What I'd done is I normally would sort of lay down on my belly and roll under this barbed wire fence. But I thought I don't really want all the water to soak up into the onesie. So I was like, okay, I know what I'll do. I'll just kneel and try and tuck my bum under. Well, my bum went under, but my back, it turns out, was sticking up way too high. Must have been like a little tortoise trying to get underneath there. Next thing I know, on my training vest, it's got lots of little breathing holes, hasn't it?
It's like mesh type.
And now the barbed wire has gone through and it's wrapped itself around it, and I'm just on all fours. But it's not like I've got one point. I thought, I don't really want to rip my vest. So radio said, I've got a bit of a problem. I'm stuck in a fence.
The position you're in, you couldn't really see where you were hooked up, so there's nothing you could really do. You were just totally stuck.
I tried one arm behind me, and then all I ended up having was the dog just constantly trying to thrust a hembird into my face. So I was trying to message you. I'm like, that's fantastic, but could you please just bugger off?
It's when they all look at you like, why are you down there? What are you doing?
And one of them kept trying to bring me my own game carrier. I know the game carrier is there. I don't need any birds off of the game carrier. And could you please get out of my face?
So yeah, that was a little bit of a fail, but it was a good day. Everyone, what makes me laugh actually is the beaters and even the guns and everyone, they don't even bat an eyelid at us anymore.
No, they didn't.
We turn up and we're a little bit not embarrassed, but oh my God, we've got to put this outfit on in front of everyone. Nobody even looks at us anymore. They're just like, oh, there's Sarah and Celine again. Yeah. They're not even shocked anymore.
No.
I feel like we need to try harder.
It was good. I'm pleased we did it. And if anybody wants a fundraiser idea, there you go. The man that gave it to us, we pass it on to you.
Many thanks. Next up, we are myth busting and shooting it straight. And today's topic is birds on shoots are released from cages.
I feel like this has quite an American and maybe continental feel to it of how they view British driven shooting.
Yes, definitely.
Don't get me wrong, we will come on to the negative side after. However, I get loads of messages saying things like, well, that's a pen bird. It's not from a pen as the Americans and some of the continentals would know it. There are places where they literally, in other parts of the world, open up a pen, throw a bird in the air and just shoot it.
Yeah.
However, in England, what we do is we release birds into what we would call a pen, but it's a release pen. And the release pens on some shoots could be a kilometre all the way around the outside.
Yeah.
And you're going to release quite a lot of birds into there, but it's a safe shelter. It's got an electric fence around it to prevent from things like foxes. It's got funnel entry systems that allow birds to go out of the pen if they fly out but get back home. And when they're released in there, they will stay within that pen initially because they are young and their wings are clipped. But as they grow, they learn to fly out and then they literally become wild.
They're wild. You can't contain them then, that's it.
No, we know we can't contain them because a lot of ours end up in people's gardens in the village and then they ring us to tell us they're incredibly grumpy because your pheasant is eating my sweets.
It'd be great if you could contain them. It'd make life a lot easier.
It would make life a lot easier. So in turn, one of the gamekeeper's jobs is to dog in. And what that is he will walk round the perimeter of his shooting area or fields, whatever the divider is, and push those birds back towards home using dogs or sometimes a flag or himself, depending on the area. And to try and teach the birds to stay within an area. But at the end of the day, they're wild. The percentage released, something like only 40% ever actually get shot and end up in the food chain.
Yeah.
On the flip side, and this is a contentious and negative subject, I have to say, there are shoots that do release from cages on a shoot day. And that actually, I think it's illegal. If it's not illegal, it's definitely not in the code of good shooting practice.
I think actually an interesting one. I have to look that up, whether it is illegal or not.
I feel like it's illegal. However, somebody may well tell us, no, it's not officially illegal, but
just really frowned upon.
Extremely. I mean, to be fair, that's really terrible. Where some people will take crated birds. So we would call that a crated bird, where it's effectively in a cage rather than a pen. So a pen to us would be a large space with trees and things in.
Dog cage.
Yes.
In between a cat cage and a dog cage is what we call a cage.
Yes, and basically take them up there, and when they want to release them, open the door, flush a few out, shut the door, open the door, flush a few out, and so on. I'm not going to say that doesn't exist. I have seen it happen. I don't go to those places. In England, the whole point of driven birds is it's supposed to be sporting. That bird could end up in somebody's garden. It could end up heading down to the seaside town from where we are, or it could end up over the guns. And it's being a gamekeeper is an art of keeping the birds where you want them. Well, if you're opening up a cage, that's not an art
to manage the whole season without losing all your hair.
Yes. So I would say it's a myth in terms of how I think British shooting can be perceived.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, isn't it, how, I mean, we could talk on this for ages, so I'll try not to, but like you say, different countries shoot and do different things. I've had comments on my deer stalking things that they're like, you're shooting babies, you're so cruel. And it's a Chinese water deer, but they don't understand that it's, they're so used to their massive animals that they shoot in America and all over the places, whereas that's not what we've got. So like you say, it's just, I find it quite interesting learning how other countries do it, and, rather than judging and going, well, why do they do it like that? How do they do it like that? It's quite interesting to see the different...
It's also quite unique, though, so I can understand why other countries can't necessarily get their head around it. There is very little driven shooting as we do it elsewhere in the world.
Yeah.
Yes, you've got some partridge shoots in Spain. Yes, there are some in America. Yes, there's a few in France. I'm not saying they don't exist, but the bulk of it is within the UK. And I think that kind of almost puts a mystery around it. How do they achieve that? Therefore, they must be chucking them out of cages. And then when they read the word pen and they're like, oh, well, they're putting them in a pen. Oh, that's how they do it. That's just a misnomer on the actual terminology.
It's funny, isn't it? Why you call it a pen, it makes it sound tiny. Maybe we need the Pheasant Hotel. I don't know. The pheasant estate.
Yes, the expanse.
They've got their own manor. But yeah, there we go. Hopefully we've...
Well, I'm sure some of you have got an opinion on it, and it would be very interesting to see, particularly those that are from other countries.
Yeah.
I would love to know, are we right, or have we perceived wrongly what people have said to us? Because I'm only going by comments, and obviously I can only go by my interpretation of a comment.
Yeah.
And while
Sorry.
that was Sarah.
That was my foot
Sarah's foot.
on the stool. That sounded really dodgy.
That did sound really dodgy. Don't wriggle too much, Sarah. You must sit
I
still.
think you're a bit keen to think that people outside the UK are listening to our podcast.
No, there are some people in America.
Are there?
Yeah.
There was us thinking we were just going to get 2 listeners, and now you're talking to the big wide world.
No, genuinely.
We've got
There
people
are
from
actually.
abroad.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
God, we're going worldwide. Look out.
I know, we could do. Can you imagine?
Should we do a tour?
Maybe we need
Podcast
to start
tour.
having somebody dub us in a different language.
Oh, good God, no.
How on earth would they cope with
They
your
wouldn't
weird
keep up.
Somerset words?
My weird Somerset words. They were like, ah.
Where are you two?
Where's that to? I feel like that should stay in. That's Celine introducing the next
It's a Diet Coke! I'm so sorry.
Welcome to the next part of the podcast. Celine introduces. She's going to burp talk it.
That was almost an alphabet burp talk. That was.
That was a good...
Sorry. That was... I needed to
I've
get
been
that
making
out.
fart noises with my feet on this stool. You're burping. It's not going very well. Do apologise.
I needed to get that out.
Anyway, where are we at, Celine?
I just guzzled some Coke, sorry. We are confessions and questions, although I understand yours is a bit more of a funny story than a confession, so we'll come to that in a minute. However, I have had a question come in from somebody, and they said, do you think that an old dog teaches a younger dog new things? So is it good to use an older dog to teach a younger dog how to pick up and all those sorts of things?
Depends if you want them to learn the bad habits or not.
That was exactly what that was where my brain went.
Depends how good your older dog is. Yes and no, I think. Obviously, there is an element of you training the dog, but I do think they do follow, and I was going to say their siblings, it might not be a sibling, their other dogs, in that you've got a older dog that's trained, that sits nicely and is steady. It's then easier to get that younger dog to sit because they're like, you've taught them to sit, you're trying to teach them to sit and stay, and they're like, oh, well, my friend sat, so maybe I will sit. If you've got the other dog that's running around, it's then
they're
harder.
naturally going to want to follow. But if the other dog is sat there and they're not running around, what is
You've
the
almost
incentive
got
for the
more
younger
chance
dog?
because they're like, oh, okay, like he's doing it, maybe I'll sit here. What's this all about? So I think as well for recall, because if you've got a dog that's really well trained on the recall, you've got a puppy or a younger dog that's a little bit iffy with it. Generally, if you recall when the older dog comes back, the other dog goes, oh, this is exciting.
I 100% find recall with a pack so much easier than recall for a single.
One goes, the other one goes.
Yeah. And when they're all milling around, they almost want to follow the others back to you. And I don't really feel like I particularly sit down and teach a youngster recall now.
No, they're not necessarily coming back because you've whistled.
Yeah.
It's that everyone's coming back and they go, oh, this looks exciting. Where do you know what I mean? Then they come back.
But the opposite of that is being drawn away from you.
Yes.
So I then find my older dogs that will potentially roam that bit further will push the boundaries at times, and I might be going on a dog walk, we're going down a lane or a bridle path. I'll always have a couple of dogs that tend to want to just stick with me. River and Otter are like that. But then you get your Tweed, and Tweed's like, oh, I'm just going to check here. I'm just going to check in there. I'm just going to have a quick look in that hedge. I'm just going to have a look in the bush. And then beyond that comes Raven. And then the youngster comes, and then the youngster's like, well, actually, that youngster no longer needs to check in with me because it's now checking in with the dog that's 50 yards ahead of me.
Yeah.
So it's then thinking, well, if I go 30 yards ahead of them, I'm only 30 yards ahead of the nearest person or pack member.
The
But
older dog
actually,
gives
they're
them
now
that
80 yards ahead of me.
confidence to be that further out. Whereas if they were on their own, flip it that you don't have that older dog, they probably wouldn't go that far because they wouldn't be that confident to go that far away from you. Whereas,
And when they're checking in, they would be checking in and there would only be you.
Yeah.
Once they've checked in and they're like, well, they're only 20 yards behind me, they're not that far away. But actually the person could be quite a long way back because there's 4 or 5 dogs that are only 20 yards from each other in front of them.
So I think it's good and bad. Yes, it can help in some ways, but I've noticed actually this season, so Fawn, my red lab, has always been really good at sitting on a shoot day. She's generally pretty good. This season, she's been really bad at it, and I'm sure it's because of Seeker. So Seeker just cannot, you can give me all the advice in the world, I just can't get that dog to sit and stay. Right. She just has to lift her bum up. And then I'm like, no, sit down. She'll sit back down. Then she has to lift her bum up.
She's not running around and being
She's not running around. She just doesn't want to sit. She wants to hover. But now Fawn's started doing it and she's never done it before. And Fawn's actually older. So it's like the younger one has actually taught the older one bad habits now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it swings around.
I do think that can happen though, because I will sit mine. Generally, if I'm near guns, mine are on a lead. If I'm out the back and I don't feel like I could do any harm and I could have a runner, then I will have dogs off of a lead. But it's interesting. I will bring a youngster up. The youngster will get to the point where I think, okay, do you know what? I trust you. You can go off a lead. They'll sit nicely. Everyone's sat together. And then at some point, that youngster will just decide, do you know what? I'm just going to push my luck here.
Yeah.
Once they push their luck, funnily enough, an older dog that will have sat for weeks on end quite happily suddenly will go, well, if she thinks she can get away with it, I might just pop over there. And that's not necessarily a shoot day thing. That could be walking the dog somewhere and suddenly they think, oh, I might have a quick look at that squirrel. I might just go and have a little look in that hedge. So it's a real double-edged sword, I think.
Yeah. It swings roundabouts.
They teach them some good habits, but actually I do think...
They also teach them all the bad ones.
Yeah, I do think an older dog probably teaches most youngsters more bad habits than good habits, because I can really only think of the general sitting there, yes, and also the recall, but I feel like there's lots of bad habits that they drag them into.
Definitely. So I've got a little story to read. This has been sent in from one of our listeners, James. Are you ready?
Yeah.
This is as recently as this very morning. My daughter, 6, has started showing an interest in deer stalking. A couple of days ago, she said she wants me to not hunt the babies and to leave the little ones. I thought she was being all tender-hearted until she finished her sentence with, next season, they'll be all big and juicy. Just shoot the big and juicy ones, Daddy. So this morning is outdoor learning in their forest school area. I decide I can quickly whip off the antlers and she can take them in to show. She's off to school, very excited, with her fallow antler in her bag. In the car, she tells me, child A's daddy gave him some of these to bring in a while ago. His daddy's ones were much bigger, with more points on. Ooh. She comes out with some classics, but the last one felt like a bit of a dig. I thought that was brilliant.
From the mouth of babes.
Yeah.
Aren't they so lovely?
Juicy ones.
I had one of our boys, and I can't remember which one now, went to primary school and he had some little casings from like tutus. I don't know if your kids collect them.
I actually check their book bags because they keep trying to smuggle them into school.
So it's just, he just had this thing that he wanted to collect all the different sizes, and he just liked having the casings. Obviously not the actual bullet before anyone writes in on Barrels Banter
just the empties.
Just the empties. And he had some in his pocket. I got a letter from the teacher saying, we do not like your child to bring these things in because we do not know when they're live or not live. I was like, oh God. Well, they're obviously not live.
No.
But aside from
he wouldn't have access to live ones.
Yeah. But you know, when you're kind of, so I did have to then start checking his.
They are all around my house. Empty shotgun ones. They take them in their school bags. And the most annoying thing, they get the empty rifle ones, like a 243 round. And they blow into the top of it,
the whistle.
And it makes a whistling sound. Yes. And they're just like synchronised whistling around the house. It really does me in. It really does me in. So every now and then, I know it sounds really harsh, but I do swipe them out of their bedroom and bin them.
So on that note, everyone, we'll finish this podcast by saying just don't have kids.
Just don't have kids.
Don't have kids. Don't have kids. Just get a few more dogs.
And shoot some juicy deer.
Yeah, shoot some juicy deer.
That's all you need.
We would love your messages. We really enjoy it. We like reading your comments. Don't forget to put them on our pod. And also you can, as we said, message us on social media, drop us an email. We will be back soon.
And don't forget to leave us a 5-star review.
Yes.
I think we're worthy of 5 stars.
I think we are worthy of
Maybe
5
a
stars.
4.5 with your burp today. But next time, give us a 5.